My twin sister tried to kill herself again and ended up in the hospital. The people who tormented her followed her there and laughed that she had brought it on herself. Later, I walked into school wearing her face. The bullies looked excited. I was more excited. I was born a monster. The only person who ever kept my darker thoughts in check was my sister. This was Lily's second attempt. Our parents called the police without hesitation this time. Even facing officers, the main bully stayed smug. How can you say I bullied her? I could say she bullied me, Zoe protested. That's right. My daughter wouldn't hurt an ant, her mother added. I watched the mother-daughter pair from the other side of the security camera feed while Lily, who had smiled at me that same morning, lay pale and weak in a hospital bed. Zoe raised an eyebrow and smirked. If she acts like a bitch, I'll treat her like one. Simple. What are you going to do? Throw me in jail? I dare you. She made a mocking face at my sister. Zero remorse. Zoe's mother met Mom's eyes with open contempt, then looked away and clicked her tongue. Like mother, like daughter. Those 4 words burned into my brain. They meant Lily got what she deserved because she was weak. They brushed off every bruise, every sleepless night, every tear my twin had shed. There would be no justice here. The police had little tangible proof. Zoe's mother had money and influence, and cruel teenage words rarely landed anyone behind bars. I stood in the dim hospital hallway, staring at the monitor. Lily's heartbeat beeped slow and steady behind the closed ward door. For my whole life, she had been my conscience. Whenever rage boiled in my chest, she would squeeze my hand and tell me not to become something we would regret. She kept the monster caged deep inside me. Now she could not do that anymore. Sedated and fighting for her strength, she could not calm my fury. The lock on my dark thoughts had snapped clean open. I drove home quietly. We were identical twins, indistinguishable to nearly everyone at school. Same hair, same height, same small mole below the right cheek. Only Lily and I could spot the tiny differences between us. I pulled on her loose sweater, styled my hair exactly the way she wore it, and softened my usual sharp stare into her quiet, downcast gaze. I became Lily. Our parents were stuck at the hospital, overwhelmed with worry. They never imagined I would walk onto campus pretending to be my injured sister. When I pushed through the heavy school front doors, the noisy hallway swarmed with students rushing between classes. Word had spread fast that Lily was in the hospital, and most kids glanced at me with confused surprise. But Zoe and her clique spotted me almost instantly. A greedy, thrilled grin spread across Zoe's face. Her friends leaned in, snickering. They believed their broken target had dragged herself back to school, ready to be tormented all over again. Excitement glittered in their eyes. I smiled faintly. My excitement ran far deeper, cold and hungry beneath Lily's gentle mask. Zoe sauntered over, shoulder bumping roughly against mine, exactly the way she always did to Lily. Look who's back. Thought you'd stay locked up in that hospital bed forever. Did you miss us? Her friends circled around, blocking my path in the busy corridor. Other students stepped aside, used to watching Lily get cornered. Nobody intervened. Nobody dared. In the past, Lily would flinch, stare at the floor, and shrink in on herself. That was the performance Zoe craved. But I was not Lily. Beneath this borrowed face, the monster was awake, and I was ready to play their game by brand new rules. Zoe's shoulder slammed into mine hard enough to jostle my balance, her tone dripping with lazy, unbridled cruelty. Her group of friends closed in tighter, forming a tight circle that cut me off from the rest of the bustling hallway. Every pair of surrounding eyes lingered on us, curious and wary. Everyone knew better than to stand up for Lily. They'd all watched her break, time and time again, and none of them had lifted a finger to stop it. I kept Lily's soft, timid smile on my face, letting my shoulders slump slightly, mirroring the exact helpless posture my twin always wore. It was the act Zoe was addicted to, the weak, scared girl crumbling under her slightest pressure. Cat got your tongue? Zoe sneered, leaning in close to my ear, her voice sharp and poisonous. You came back just to let us finish what we started, huh? Should have stayed dead. No one would have missed you. Her friends burst into quiet, mocking laughter, their voices echoing off the lockers. They thought this was just another ordinary day of torment, another easy victory over the school's favorite punching bag. They had no idea the girl standing in front of them was not the fragile twin they'd broken beyond repair. Lily would have trembled. She would have apologized for no reason, begged them to leave her alone, fled to the bathroom to cry in silence. But I didn't flinch. I didn't look away. I simply tilted my head, still wearing her gentle smile, and stared straight into Zoe's arrogant eyes. The small, unnatural calm on my face made her falter for half a second. Her smirk wavered, confusion flickering across her features. She was used to tears, fear, submission, not empty, unblinking silence. "What's wrong with you?" She snapped, growing irritable at my lack of reaction. "You finally lose your mind in the hospital?" I spoke then, my voice soft and sweet, a perfect mimicry of Lily's quiet tone, but stripped of all her fear. "I didn't lose anything," I whispered. I finally found the courage to come back. Zoe's eyebrows shot up. She exchanged a snickering glance with her friends, dismissing my words as delusional nonsense. Courage? Please. She reached up, fingers aiming to shove my shoulder hard, to force me into the cowering position she loved. "You're still the same pathetic waste of space you've always been." This time, I didn't let her touch me. My hand shot up fast, clamping tight around her wrist mid-movement. My grip was iron-tight, unyielding, nothing like Lily's shaky, weak hold. Zoe's eyes blew wide open, shock replacing her arrogance in an instant. She tugged hard, trying to yank her wrist free, but I didn't budge an inch. The laughter died instantly in the hallway. The surrounding students fell dead silent, stunned by the unthinkable scene unfolding before them. The scared, quiet Lily was fighting back. "Let go of me," Zoe snarled, her face flushing with rage and embarrassment. "Are you crazy?" I squeezed tighter, watching the color drain from her face, watching the smug superiority melt away into panic. The monster inside me purred, hungry and satisfied after years of being caged. For every bruise Lily had endured, every harsh word she'd swallowed, every night she'd cried herself to sleep, this was just the beginning. "You said she deserved it," I murmured, my voice still eerily calm, sweet enough to send chills down every spectator's spine. "You said her pain was her own fault, that she was just being dramatic." I leaned in, my tone dropping cold and sharp, no longer hiding the darkness beneath my twin's mask. "Tell me again. Is she dramatic now?" Zoe's friends scrambled forward, hands raised to push me off her. "Hey, let Zoe go! Don't touch her!" I didn't release Zoe. Instead, I twisted her wrist slightly, a small, precise movement that made her cry out in sharp, unbridled pain. She doubled over, her tough facade shattering completely, tears pricking the corners of her eyes. "Stop! It hurts! You're insane!" she shrieked. I smiled, and this time the smile was mine. Cold, cruel, and unapologetic. The last trace of Lily's gentle mask slipped away completely. "You spent months hurting her," I said quietly. "You followed her to the hospital to laugh at her suffering. You lied to the police. You mocked her pain. You thought your mom's money and status would let you get away with everything." I tilted my head, staring down at her hunched, pained form. "But you made one fatal mistake. You broke the only person who kept me human." I finally released her wrist, and she stumbled backward, gasping and clutching her arm, staring at me with pure terror in her eyes. She could feel it now, the difference. This was not the Lily she knew. This was something far darker, far more dangerous. The entire hallway stood frozen, every student watching in shock as the school's biggest bully crumbled beneath the quiet twin's rage. I took a slow step toward her, and she flinched back, scrambling away like a frightened animal. The game was no longer hers to control. I was wearing Lily's face. But I was here to make every single one of them pay for what they did to my sister. Zoe stumbled back, her breath ragged, one hand clamped tightly around her bruised wrist. The arrogant glint in her eyes was gone, replaced by raw, unmasked fear. She'd spent years terrorizing my sister, growing addicted to the power of pushing the quiet, gentle girl to tears. She'd never once imagined the powerless mouse could turn into a predator overnight. Her friends swarmed around her instantly, shielding her like bodyguards. They glared at me, voices sharp and accusatory, trying to regain the dominance they'd lost in seconds. "What is wrong with you? You could have broken her arm," one of them shouted, pointing a trembling finger at my chest. I took another slow step forward. My posture relaxed, my gaze cold and unflinching. I no longer bothered with Lily's timid slouched posture or soft fake smile. I stood tall, every inch of me stripped of my sister's gentle warmth. This was my true self, unchained. This is different. "This is physical assault," she snapped, her voice cracking. "I'm reporting you to the principal right now. You're getting expelled." Each word landed like a blow. Zoe's face blanched paler by the second. She and her friends had always hidden their cruelty behind petty excuses. Sibling drama, overreacting victim, harmless teasing. They'd never faced consequences because Lily had always been too broken, too scared to speak up for herself. The second the words left her mouth, I moved. "My sister is quiet because she's kind," I said firmly, my voice cutting through the noise. "She never hurt anyone. She never spoke ill of you, never mocked you, never wished pain on a single soul. You hated her for no reason other than the fact that she was softer, kinder, and better than all of you combined." I paused, letting my cold verdict sink into every watching eye. Zoe's eyes flicked around nervously, realizing dozens of phones were pointed directly at her, recording every terrified expression, every shaky breath. Her perfect reputation, her untouchable status as the popular, untroubled queen of the school, was crumbling in real time. I smiled, a sharp, satisfied curve of my lips. The monster inside me purred, finally fed after years of silence. "You broke my sister," I said, my tone final. "Now I'm going to break everything you've ever cared about." The bell blared again, sharp and insistent, but the hallway refused to empty. Students lingered by the lockers, phones still raised, every frame of my confrontation with Zoe captured and saved. Word spread like wildfire. The quiet, suicidal twin everyone pitied had snapped, had turned on the most popular girl in school without a single shred of fear. Zoe's face burned bright red with humiliation. She was used to being worshipped, not recorded falling apart, used to being the one who made people cower, not the one scrambling backward in terror. "This isn't over," she snarled at me, voice trembling. "I'm going to the principal's office." "You're done here, Lily." I laughed again, low and cold, still wearing my sister's face but none of her softness. "Keep calling me Lily. It makes what's about to happen so much sweeter." She flinched, confused by my cryptic tone, but too prideful to ask what I meant. With a furious huff, she turned on her heel and stormed toward the administrative wing, her friends scrambling after her like loyal followers. They were desperate to regain control, to report me, to paint me as violent and unstable before the crowd's videos could spread further. They were too slow. By first period, the hallway footage was already circulating across every student social media page. The clip went viral in minutes. People watched Zoe's arrogant taunts, watched her friends gang up on the weak twin, watched how I never flinched, never backed down, how I matched their cruelty, word for word and blow for blow. The comments exploded overnight. I always knew Zoe was fake. Wait, Lily did that? The quiet girl who tried to kill herself twice? She's not violent. She's fed up. Someone finally defended her. Teachers began pulling students aside one by one, checking phones, trying to delete the footage and suppress the chaos. But digital content never truly disappears. The more the school tried to cover it up, the faster it spread. By the time I walked into the principal's office an hour later, the entire staff knew what had happened. Zoe sat in a chair by the desk, eyes red and puffy, putting on the world's most convincing victim act. Her wrist was dramatically propped up on the table, like I'd shattered every bone in it. Her mother sat beside her, sharp and furious, already firing off threats and demands. "My daughter came to school terrified today." Her mother snapped at the principal. "This girl has mental issues. She's suicidal and violent. She belongs in therapy, not in our classrooms. I want her suspended immediately." "No, expelled." The principal looked stressed, caught between parental pressure and the viral video burning up the school's reputation. He turned to me, tone stern. Lily, care to explain your behavior? Assaulting multiple students in the hallway is unacceptable. Zoe peeked at me from behind her mother's shoulder, a tiny, victorious smirk tugging at her lips. She thought she'd won. She thought her family's money and influence would bury me like they'd buried every complaint before. I stood straight, meeting the principal's eyes without a single tremor. I wasn't assaulting anyone, I said calmly. I was defending myself, and I have proof. Before anyone could react, I pulled out my phone and opened the hospital security footage I'd saved the day before. I pressed play, the small office filled with Zoe's mocking laughter, her cruel words echoing crystal clear. If she acts like a bitch, I'll treat her like one. She brought this on herself. What are you gonna do? Throw me in jail? Zoe's face drained of all color. Her mother's arrogant rant died mid-sentence. Both of them froze, completely stunned that I'd captured their unfiltered cruelty on camera. I kept talking, my voice steady and unyielding. My sister tried to take her life twice because of relentless bullying. Yesterday, these girls followed her to the hospital to mock her while she was unconscious. They lied to police, denied every accusation, and bragged about getting away with it. I tilted my head, staring directly at Zoe. You think I'm violent now? Imagine how much violence your daily harassment created in her head. Imagine how many nights she cried alone because people like you made the world too cruel to live in. The principal's expression shifted instantly. The blame no longer landed solely on me. The truth was finally, undeniably out in the open. Zoe's mother tried to snatch my phone away, desperate to delete the evidence. That's edited footage. This is slander, she shrieked. I pulled my phone back easily, a cold smile spreading across my face. It's hospital security camera footage, time-stamped, unedited, and backed up on multiple cloud drives. I paused, letting the final nail sink into their perfect lies. And I already sent copies to every local news outlet. Silence crashed over the room. Zoe's eyes widened in pure, horrified disbelief. She'd spent years tormenting my sister, thinking she was untouchable, but she never knew. She wasn't dealing with Lily anymore. She was dealing with the twin who had nothing left to lose. The silence in the principal's office was deafening. Zoe stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Her earlier arrogance shattered into dust. Her mother's face turned livid, veins bulging on her forehead as she processed my words. All her threats, all her power plays, all her confidence crumbled the second she realized I'd leaked every damning second of footage to the press. You wouldn't dare, she hissed, voice shaking with rage. You're ruining my daughter's future over a stupid grudge. A stupid grudge? I repeated softly, my tone sharp enough to cut. This stupid grudge is the reason my sister flatlined in a hospital bed. She almost died, twice. The principal's phone buzzed violently on his desk. Then another, and another. Confused, he picked it up, and his eyes widened the second he scanned the screen. Local news platforms were already blowing up. The hospital security clip had spread faster than the school hallway footage. Zoe's unfiltered cruelty, her zero remorse, her arrogant taunts for a suicidal girl were now public domain. Comments flooded in by the thousands, condemning Zoe and her family's blatant bullying and cover-up. Netizens were furious at the injustice, at how a privileged girl could torment someone to the brink of death and still walk around acting like a victim. This is child abuse disguised as teenage drama. The school tried to cover this up? Disgusting. Imagine picking on the quiet kid so hard she tries to kill herself twice. Zoe and her mom deserve everything coming to them. The principal swallowed hard, his stern demeanor fading into helplessness. There was no way to save the school's reputation now. No way to shield Zoe from the consequences she'd spent years avoiding. The truth was nationwide. Zoe finally broke down. Tears streamed down her face, not from pain or fear of punishment, but from pure, unbridled panic. Her perfect social status, her flawless reputation, her family's clean public image, all of it was gone in an instant. Mom, do something. She wailed, clutching her mother's arm. Fix this! Her mother scrambled for damage control, spinning wildly to the principal with forced urgency. This is harassment! That girl impersonated my daughter. She manipulated the situation. You have to suspend her immediately. The room froze. I tilted my head, a cold, knowing smile tugging at my lips. This was the opening I'd been waiting for. I stood up straight, dropping every last trace of Lily's timid mannerisms. My shoulders relaxed, my gaze sharp and unyielding, no longer soft and downcast. The gentle, vulnerable mask I'd worn all day finally slipped off completely. The principal frowned in confusion, noticing the drastic shift in my demeanor. "What are you talking about? Impersonated?" I locked eyes with the panicking mother and daughter pair, my voice clear and unshakable for everyone in the room to hear. "She's right." Zoe's crying halted instantly. Hope flickered in her red, puffy eyes, thinking I was finally surrendering. I delivered the final blow slow and cruel. I did impersonate Lily today. The principal's jaw dropped open in shock. "I'm not Lily." I lifted my chin, letting my true, cold personality shine through. "I'm her twin sister, the one who never goes to school, the one who never gave you a target to bully." Zoe's face went completely white. She stumbled backward, tripping over her own chair. Pure terror flashing across her features as every unsettling moment from the day clicked into place. The calmness, the lack of fear, the sharp retaliation, the unbreakable confidence. None of it matched the Lily she'd bullied for years. She'd spent an entire day fighting the wrong twin. You're her twin?" she stammered, voice broken and hollow. I nodded slowly, every word a final verdict. "Lily's in the hospital, fighting to stay alive because of you. While she suffered alone, you laughed, you mocked her. You lied to the police and thought your family's money would bury every sin you committed." I stepped forward, leaning in slightly, my tone icy and final. "You spent years picking on the kind, gentle half of us. Today you met the monster she spent her whole life holding back." Zoe's mother stood frozen, speechless for the first time all day. Her threats died on her tongue. Her arrogance completely vanished. She finally understood who she'd been messing with. Not a weak, suicidal girl, but her vengeful, unhinged twin. The principal stared at me in stunned silence, processing the entire twisted truth. The hallway fight, the viral videos, the hospital footage, every piece fell perfectly into place. Outside the office door, murmurs spread like wildfire. Students passing by overheard my confession, and the entire school erupted in shock. No one knew Lily had a twin. No one knew the quiet victim had a protector lurking in the shadows all along. I glanced at the trembling, defeated pair in front of me. No pity left in my heart. "You wanted someone to blame for your downfall?" I said quietly. "Blame yourselves. You broke the only good thing I had. Now you get to live with the ruin you created." Their perfect lives were over. And my revenge? It was only just finished. Chaos exploded through the school, the second my twin reveal sunk in. Students clustered outside the principal's office door, voices buzzing in frantic disbelief. The quiet, fragile Lily they'd all watched get bullied for years was not alone. She'd had a shadow twin all along, someone who'd watched every tear, endured every unfair attack, and waited patiently to burn every bully's perfect world to the ground. Inside the office, Zoe crumpled completely. She sank back into her chair, hands shaking uncontrollably. Her earlier pride and cruelty reduced to nothing but pathetic, terrified whimpers. She'd spent months mocking Lily's weakness, taunting her for being alone, convincing herself that her money and status made her untouchable. But she'd never known she was only picking on half of me. Her mother's fiery rage fizzled out into cold, helpless panic. She'd walked in ready to threaten lawsuits, ready to manipulate the school into punishing my sister, ready to bury the truth like she'd done countless times before. Now she stood silent, her face ashen, realizing her power and influence were useless against viral evidence and public fury. The principal finally found his voice, stern and unwavering, no longer hesitant to take sides. After reviewing all footage, witness statements, and the hospital report, he said firmly, the school is officially opening a full bullying investigation. Effective immediately, Zoe is suspended pending permanent expulsion. Zoe let out a broken sob. "No, please, you can't do this. My life is over." "You ended my sister's will to live twice," I cut in flatly. "You don't get to beg for mercy now." The worst was still coming for them. By that afternoon, the story dominated every trending page. The public watched Zoe's hospital mockery, saw her arrogant police lies, read through dozens of anonymous student testimonies detailing her years of unpunished harassment. Old clips of her bullying other classmates resurfaced one after another, stacking endless proof against her. Sponsors dropped her mother's company overnight. High society friends cut off all contact, terrified of being tied to a family infamous for driving a teen to suicide. The reputation they'd spent decades building crumbled completely, collapsing under the weight of their own cruelty. Zoe's popular clique abandoned her instantly. The friends who'd laughed with her, who'd joined her torment, who'd helped isolate Lily all turned their backs, scrambling to distance themselves from the scandal. She was left alone, exactly like she'd left my sister. Karma was not gentle. That evening, I drove back to the hospital. The sterile hallway smelled calm and clean, a stark contrast to the chaos I'd left behind at school. I walked quietly into Lily's private room, my heart softening for the first time all day. My twin lay awake in the bed, color finally returning to her cheeks, her gentle eyes clear and steady. The sedation had worn off and she was stable, truly stable, for the first time in months. When she saw me, she smiled, weak but warm, the same smile that had always held my darkness at bay. "You did something crazy again, didn't you?" she whispered. I pulled a chair beside her bed, reaching out to lace my fingers through hers. Her hand was small and warm in mine, grounding me, calming the last of the monster's restlessness in my chest. "They hurt you too many times," I said quietly. I wasn't going to let them get away with it again. Lily's eyes glistened with soft tears, but they were not sad tears. They were relieved ones. For years, she'd carried the bullying alone, too scared to tell me the full extent of their cruelty, too afraid I'd snap and destroy myself trying to protect her. She'd bottled every insult, every push, every sleepless night to keep me human. She'd been my protector long before I ever became hers. I heard, she murmured. "The whole school knows. Everyone knows the truth now," I nodded. "No one's ever gonna hurt you like that again." They paid for it. All of them. Outside the window, the sunset painted the sky soft gold, warm and peaceful. The storm that had haunted our twin lives for years was finally over. Zoe would face permanent expulsion, public humiliation, and a ruined family name. Her mother's greed and arrogance had burned their entire legacy to ash. They'd lived cruelly, thought they were invincible, and crumbled the second their power was stripped away, and we were finally free. Lily squeezed my hand gently, her voice light and hopeful. "I'm okay now. I really am." I smiled, a genuine, unguarded smile, the kind only she could pull from me. I'd spent my whole life defined by my darkness, labeled the monster twin while she was the gentle, perfect one. But she'd always been my saving grace, my only good thing in a cruel world. I'd unleashed every bit of my rage to avenge her. I'd broken the bullies who tried to break her. Now the monster could rest. The looping pain, the endless bullying, the quiet suffering, all of it was gone. We were twins, two halves of the same soul, and from this day forward we only had each other. No more masks, no more fear, no more cruel people getting to win. Our new life started now. The next morning, the headlines were brutal and unforgiving. Privileged high school bully mocks suicidal. Classmate on camera. Viral footage exposes years of school. Bullying and family cover-up, expulsion. Pending after twin sister's vengeful takedown, I scrolled through the articles quietly from the hospital. Waiting room while Lily slept. The storm I'd unleashed hadn't faded overnight. It had only grown stronger. Every secret Zoe and her friends had buried was unearthed. Every lie her mother had built crumbled under public scrutiny. The school released an official statement. Zoe was permanently expelled. Her two closest accomplices received long-term suspension and mandatory psychological counseling. The school promised a full anti-bullying reform, all because no one could deny the truth any longer. Their perfect, easy lives were gone. Zoe's mother's company collapsed entirely. Investors fled, partnerships dissolved, and social media dragged her name through the mud for raising a cruel, entitled child who thought she could bully people to the brink of death without consequences. The family that once held power and influence was now infamous for all the wrong reasons. They'd spent years making Lily's life hell. Now they lived every single day drowning in the misery they'd created. When Lily woke up, her eyes were brighter, less haunted than they'd been in years. She watched me scroll through the news, then reached over and closed my phone gently with her fingers. "Stop reading it," she whispered. "You don't have to keep fighting anymore." I stared at her. For so long, fighting had been all I knew. Fighting the bullies, fighting the unfairness, fighting to protect the only person who'd ever loved me purely. The monster inside me had been fed on anger for so long I wasn't sure how to exist without it. "What do I do now?" I asked honestly. Lily smiled, soft and steady. "You rest." Later that day, the doctor cleared Lily for discharge. Her physical wounds had healed, and for the first time in forever, her mental state was stable. The darkness that had clung to her like a shadow was finally loosening its grip. Our parents cried the moment they held her, guilty and broken. They'd known about the bullying, but they'd underestimated how deep the damage went. They'd thought transferring schools or simple talks would fix it. They'd never realized their quiet, gentle daughter had been suffering alone for so long. "We're so sorry," Mom whispered over and over again. I said nothing. Apologies were too late for the nights Lily spent crying alone. Too late for the 2 times she'd almost left us forever. But Lily forgave them. Not because their mistakes were excusable, but because she wanted to move forward. She wanted peace more than she wanted revenge. That night, we slept in the same room, just like we did when we were little kids. Lily rolled over in her bed, staring at me through the dim lamplight. "You're not a monster." "You know," she said suddenly. I huffed quietly. "I sure acted like one." "You acted like my sister," she corrected. "You protected me. Monsters don't spend years holding themselves back just to keep their siblings safe. You only broke because I broke first." Her words settled deep inside me, quieting the last restless piece of my shadow. I'd always believed I was the dangerous twin, the broken one, the one who needed Lily's goodness to stay human. But she was right. My darkness had never been malice for the world. It had always been fear of losing her. The next week, we withdrew from the old school entirely. We enrolled in a new district, one where no one knew our names, no one knew our past. No one whispered about the suicidal twin or her vengeful sister. On our first day walking the new campus, Lily slipped her hand into mine, her grip firm and unafraid. No one stared. No one whispered. No one dared hurt her. I glanced sideways at her, at the sunlight falling on her face, at the quiet, happy smile she now wore without, trembling. I'd spent my whole life thinking I needed to fight the darkness, but the darkness was never my enemy. The enemy was the people who tried to burn my light out. They lost. We won. The monster was finally free to be just her sister, and for the first time in our lives, we simply lived. We spent 3 months in quiet, unbroken peace. At the new school, the hallways were kinder. No side-eye glances, no hidden whispers, no group circling Lily to tear her down. The past felt sealed away, like the viral scandal, the hospital nights, and Zoe's endless cruelty belonged to a different life, one we'd escaped for good. Lily bloomed. She laughed louder, made real friends, and stopped flinching every time someone raised their voice. The faint, permanent sadness in her eyes faded little by little, replaced by calm and light. She no longer carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. I softened too. Without a reason to constantly brace for danger, the sharp edge I'd carried my whole life dulled. The monster inside me didn't disappear entirely. It just settled down, dormant and quiet, no longer starved for revenge. I let myself believe we were finally safe. I was wrong. It started small. Someone left a crumpled piece of paper in our locker. No writing, just a single black butterfly sticker. The same silly trademark Zoe used to plaster on all her notebooks back at our old school. I froze the second I saw it. Lily found it first and stared at it blankly, her smile fading. She recognized it too. After everything, how could she not? "Do you think it's just a coincidence?" she asked me quietly. her voice tentative, like she was scared to name the worst possibility out loud. I peeled the sticker off the metal shelf, my fingers cold. It was fresh, crisp, newly placed. No coincidence. I smiled for her sake, gentle and reassuring. It's nothing, just a stupid sticker. But my chest tightened. Zoe was gone, expelled, disgraced, her family shattered. She had no reason to come back, no power to haunt us anymore, or at least that's what I'd thought. The next day, the notes started. Short, cruel sentences slipped into our backpacks, our textbooks, our classroom desk. You think you won? I'm still watching you. She's still weak. I can break her again. Lily's old anxiety crept back fast. She started glancing over her shoulder in hallways, double-checking every shadow, sleeping lighter at night. The progress she'd spent months rebuilding threatened to crumble all over again. I stopped sleeping entirely. I scanned every face in our new school, tracked every stranger who lingered too long, memorized every exit and hallway route. The dormant monster in me woke up, hungry and alert, every defense system firing back to life. This wasn't a random student prank. This was personal. On Friday after school, I told Lily to walk ahead with her friends. I lied and said I needed to grab a textbook from the library. Instead, I hid around the corner of the school entrance and waited. 10 minutes later, a figure stepped out from behind the oak tree by the sidewalk. My blood ran cold. It was one of Zoe's old best friends, Mia, the girl who'd laughed loudest in the hospital hallway. The girl who'd helped corner Lily in the old school corridors countless times. The girl who'd gotten suspended right alongside Zoe. She was supposed to be gone too. But here she was, loitering outside our new campus, eyes locked on the path Lily had just taken. When she spotted me, she didn't even flinch. She just tilted her head and smirked, unafraid. Thought you two could run forever? She called out, lazy and venomous. Zoe's miserable at home. Her family's broke, and you two get to live happy? That's not fair. I walked slowly toward her, every step silent and controlled. What do you want? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. Mia shrugged, pulling a stack of those same black butterfly stickers out of her pocket. I want you to know it's not over. You ruined our lives. We're gonna ruin yours right back, one tiny scare at a time, until your precious sister breaks again. My jaw tightened. I'd thought the revenge was finished. I'd thought the bullies had fallen and paid their price. But cruelty didn't die that easily. Zoe was locked away in her shame and ruin. But she'd sent her ghost to finish the job. Mia leaned in, lowering her voice to a taunt only I could hear. Zoe says thanks for the new school, by the way. Easier to hunt her when no one knows her history. No one's gonna believe the perfect recovered twin is getting bullied again. I stared at her, and for the first time in months, the gentle sister mask I'd grown comfortable wearing shattered completely. The monster was awake again, and this time, I wouldn't hold back at all. The air turned sharp between us, cold and suffocating beneath the afternoon sun. Mia's smirk was lazy, confident. She thought she had the upper hand. She thought this was a game she could toy with, that she could sneak into our new life, chip away at Lily's healing, and get away scot-free. She'd watched me burn Zoe's reputation to the ground, yet she still dared to come for us. Stupid. You're quiet now? Mia mocked, twirling a black butterfly sticker between her fingers. Last time you went crazy blew up the whole school. But go ahead. Fight me, scream, make a scene. Everyone here only knows your sweet twin sister. They'll think she's relapsed. They'll think you're the problem. She leaned closer, tone sickly sweet. Zoe's counting on it. She says broken things stay broken. Rage simmered low in my bones, slow and burning. Months of peace, months of Lily's careful healing, months of me taming the darkness inside me. All of it they wanted to destroy for petty, bitter revenge. I took one step forward, and Mia's smirk faltered for half a second. You think this is a game? I asked, my voice low and flat. No tremor, no anger outburst. Just quiet, unescapable certainty. It's just justice, Mia huffed. You ruined our lives. Zoe lost everything. Her family's bankrupt. Her future's gone. Why do you two get to be happy? You lost everything because you earned it. I shot back instantly. You laughed while my sister lay dying in a hospital bed. You helped corner her, helped isolate her, helped make her world so small and cruel she couldn't breathe. My eyes hardened. You don't get to play victim now. Mia's smile dropped completely. She tossed the sticker stack onto the sidewalk, crossing her arms defensively. Whatever. I'm not scared of you. You can't do anything here. No old school footage, no viral clout. You're just another student now, and I'm gonna keep haunting you. Every day. Until Lily breaks again. She tilted her chin, arrogant once more. I'll leave the notes. I'll spread rumors. I'll make her paranoid enough to slip back into that dark place. You can't guard her every second. I stared at her, memorizing every inch of her cocky expression. She was right about one thing. I couldn't guard Lily every single second, but I could eliminate the threat entirely. I'd held back last time for Lily. I'd softened, learned peace, let the monster sleep. I'd given mercy because my sister deserved a quiet life, but mercy only worked on people who had humanity. Mia had none. Zoe had none. You really think you can get away with this? I asked softly. I already am, she scoffed. You have zero proof. I'm just an old classmate passing by. You'll look insane for accusing me. I pulled out my phone, flipped the screen toward her. The recording was clear, crisp, every word she'd just spoken frozen in audio, her face drained of color. I started recording the second you stepped from behind that tree, I said calmly. Every threat, every admission, every word about Zoe plotting to break my sister again. Mia's mouth fell open in pure shock. You tricked me. I prepared for you, I corrected. I knew your type. You don't know when to stop. I locked the screen, saving the file securely. You wanted to play in the shadows? Fine, but I don't do warnings. I don't do second chances. Panic finally seeped into Mia's eyes. She reached out, trying to snatch my phone, but I stepped back easily, out of her reach. Delete it, she hissed. You can't do this again. My parents will sue. Your parents can try. I cut her off. But this time I'm not just leaking school footage. This is direct, premeditated harassment, stalking, threatening a vulnerable student with a history of trauma. My tone turned ice cold. You came to my new school. You hunted my sister. You admitted you're working with Zoe to break her again? That's not school punishment anymore, I told her. That's police punishment. Mia stumbled backward, her tough facade crumbling into raw, terrified desperation. She'd thought she was sneaky. She'd thought she was clever, but she'd walked straight into my trap. Wait, stop, she stammered. I was just messing around. It was a joke. I shook my head slowly. You laughed at my sister's near-death experience. That wasn't a joke. You spent months bullying her. That wasn't a joke. You traveled to a new campus to terrorize her again. That's not a joke. I turned to walk away, then paused, glancing over my shoulder. Tell Zoe this, I said quietly. If either of you so much as breathes near my sister again, I won't stop at ruining your reputation. Last time I was kind. Next time, I'll be the monster you always feared. I left her frozen on the sidewalk, trembling and defeated, and walked home. When I stepped through the front door, Lily looked up from the couch, her expression soft and worried. You were gone a while, she said gently. Everything okay? I slipped my phone into my pocket, erased the cold edge from my face, and smiled, the warm, genuine smile only she got to see. I crossed the room and sat beside her, pulling her into a safe, steady hug. Everything's fine now, I whispered. No more shadows. No more ghosts. I'd keep my monster locked away again, but only after I buried every last person who tried to hurt her. That night, I filed the report. I uploaded Mia's full audio recording, compiled the stack of threatening notes, photographed the black butterfly stickers, and attached every old witness statement from our previous school. I handed it all over to the local police department with zero hesitation, leaving no room for denial, no loopholes for excuses, no chance for them to wriggle free. I didn't do it out of cruelty. I did it because bullies only learn to stop when every single escape route is burned to the ground. The police acted fast. Mia was pulled from her home the next morning, questioned on official record, and faced formal charges for stalking, harassment, and intentional emotional distress targeting a minor with documented trauma. Since she'd already been suspended for her previous bullying history, the school board rejected any chance of leniency. She was permanently expelled, her academic record tarnished irreparably, her future college prospects wiped clean overnight. Her parents' empty threats of lawsuits vanished the second the full evidence folder landed on their desks. They had nothing to fight with, only their daughter's own recorded admissions, proving every word of her crimes. But Mia was only the messenger. The police investigation traced every thread straight back to Zoe. They uncovered text chains spanning weeks, Zoe instructing Mia to stalk us, to plant threatening notes, to trigger Lily's old trauma, to break her down until she spiraled again. Zoe hadn't just resented us from afar. She'd spent every miserable day of her ruined life plotting revenge, obsessed with tearing down the peace we'd fought so hard to build. The evidence was undeniable. Zoe's already shattered reputation collapsed completely. With new criminal allegations added to her long history of unpunished bullying, she became a permanent social pariah. Every former friend, every family connection, every last trace of her privileged old life vanished for good. Her family's bankrupt business officially folded days later, their name blacklisted across every social and professional circle. The power they'd once wielded to silence victims was gone forever. They'd spent years playing God with Lily's sanity, convinced their money and status made them untouchable. Now they had nothing. No status. No influence, no future. Only the bitter, endless regret of hurting an innocent girl for no reason other than their own cruelty. I never felt guilty. Guilt was for people who made mistakes. They'd chosen every cruel word, every violent taunt, every deliberate attempt to break my sister. They'd chosen to be monsters long before I ever had to be one. A week later, Lily found out everything. I'd kept the truth from her at first, unwilling to let the stress of the final backlash chip away at her hard-won peace. But when the news broke quietly in our town, she came to me not scared, not anxious, but calm. She curled up beside me on our bedroom window seat, watching the soft evening sunset spill over the rooftops, and laced her fingers gently through mine. "You protected me again," she whispered. I turned to her, my voice soft, stripped of every cold edge I'd carried for years. "I'll always protect you. You're my sister, my only family." Lily smiled, bright and unburdened, the kind of smile I hadn't seen from her our entire teenage lives. "You're not a monster. You know," she repeated, just like she had months ago in the hospital. "You're just someone who loved me enough to fight the darkness when I couldn't." Her words finally settled permanently in my chest, quieting the last lingering flicker of the rage I'd carried since childhood. For so long, I'd believed I was the broken twin, the dangerous one, the shadow that only existed to counter her light. I'd thought my anger made me cruel, my protectiveness made me monstrous. But I was wrong. Darkness wasn't born in me. It was forced into me every time someone hurt the only good thing I had. Now the darkness had no more reason to burn. All the bullies were gone. All the threats were erased. All the ghosts from our old life were finally laid to rest. No more notes. No more stalking. No more fear lingering in the back of our minds. We were free. That night, I let the last of my monster rest. I no longer needed to be sharp. No longer needed to be vigilant. No longer needed to fight or hunt or destroy to keep my sister safe. I could just be me. Just her twin. As the stars came out outside our window, Lily leaned her head on my shoulder, peaceful and happy, and I knew our story was finally complete. The cruel didn't win. The broken didn't stay broken. And the monster who'd spent a lifetime guarding her light, finally, endlessly, happily, she got to live.